Welcome to Caffeinated Flicks. I'm Celeste.
And I'm Kenzie. We're two chicks who drink coffee
and celebrate flicks from diverse directors.
If you like what you're hearing so far, take a moment to follow us in your favorite podcasting app.
And give us a rating or review. Here's the show.
Cool. So without further ado, shall we get with it?
Yes, let's do it.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us again today, Leah. You are our first ever second repeat guest, if you will. So super excited about having you on again.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I know that you just got back from quite the travels. You were in New York for the comedies. I can't remember what it's called.
New York Comedy Festival.
That's the one. New York Comedy Festival. I had all the words, but they weren't like computing into the correct sentence structure. And I was like, where did it go? But yeah, so thank you so much. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because I know a lot of that had to do with were you raised by wolves and of course your comedy career as well. And you were doing a whole bunch of different sets while you were there. So love to hear a little bit more from you about how that all went.
Oh, it was great. Thank you for asking. In New York, you can get so much more stand-up time because people do back-to-back sets. You could do 4 shows a night, maybe 5 shows. And then, so I packed in so many spots in such a short period of time, which was very exciting. And then Nick and I, for Were You Raised by Wolves, did our first live podcast show, which we were very excited about, but you never know what it's going to be like. So we were like very interested to see how is this going to work. And everybody who came was like, Were You Raised by listeners? And it was really exciting. And I think we want to do more. So that was great. It was the end of this. I've been doing a environmental fellowship all year where they took 9 comics and we studied with environmental climate specialists. And then we were supposed to make media about it. So we had a taping and that was that week as well. So it was just like a whole lot jam-packed into 2.5 weeks. And then I came back. I went straight to San Diego for a gig. And then I slept for 24 hours, which I have actually never done before.
Oh, you literally slept for 24 hours?
It was the first time in my life.
So you're saying when you woke up, you went to the couch to sleep?
I got up, I went to the couch. I go, let's put on some baking show. I put on a baking show. I immediately fell asleep. Then I went back into bed.
That sounds amazing.
Leah, we talk about coffee a lot while we're on here. So what are you caffeinating with today?
So I thought I'd switch it up. I don't remember what I had last time, but I know I didn't have this. I just got out of the gym and next to the gym, we have a Trader Joe's, which I never went to Trader Joe's in my prior life. So now I feel like one must. And then I like these. It's would you say La Colombe? La Colombe?
Yeah,
I think it's La Colombe. And then it's a double latte oat milk. And I don't usually do the oat milk. I'm a straight up almond milk girl or black. But I like this very much.
It sounds delicious. I love those ones. I know that there's an actual like storefront of La Colombe somewhere.
La Colombe.
Where. I think it's La Colombe.
No, I think you're right. That sounds much more correct. I like to just add at the end of everything.
It is more fun that way.
So is that like a latte in a can?
It's a double latte in a can with oat milk and it creamy and balanced. And it is creamy. It's a lot. It's more than I would normally do, but it's like a fun time.
Is it also balanced?
Yeah, I would say it's hedging towards creamy.
That is one of the things about oat milk is that it does add like this extremely creamy flavor to it or texture to it. Like it really does add more to the coffee than like an almond milk does.
Yeah, it's a bit thick.
Yeah, thick with 2 C's.
Yes. It's like a center of gravity over here. It's so thick, it's a mass.
It's dark matter. It's fine. What about you, Celeste? I know that you were talking to me about this new coffee place that had just opened up around us.
So speaking of gravity, there's a new chain that opened up called Gravity Coffee. And it's their opening weekend. And so they're giving out free drinks all weekend.
Oh.
I know. So I was like, I'm going to go. So I got I think it was a salted caramel macchiato. And then I got it half sweet with oat milk as well. And it was
iced or hot?
Iced year round for me.
Okay.
She's an iced girly. She loves all of her things iced. To get her to drink hot coffee is an anomaly.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are in a warm area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although today it rained and
It was weird.
it's starting to get cooler. Like the mornings are in the 60s, 50s. So it's starting to get cooler.
It's still like in the 80s right now. But how is the weather out there in California?
Well, I grew up in Maine. I went to college in Quebec. I lived in New York. And then when I first got here, I made fun of people who were wearing puffy jackets when it was like high 60s. And then I went to New York 2 weeks ago and I've never been so cold in my life. I was like, I cannot handle this. I had on all the clothes I brought at the same time. I was like, it's so cold. And then I went to Uniqlo and just bought a full puffy jacket. I can't live this way. So when I got back to LA, I felt I was like, thank goodness. It's so dramatic now. It's so dramatic. The sun, we got sunshine. It's not hot right now. It's like low 70s, but
that's nice.
I love that.
You've already acclimated to that West Coast weather.
I really have. And I wanted to be like in New York. What are you guys doing? You can leave. This is it's too cold. It's getting dark because the buildings block the sun is like 3:00. It's night,
Yeah. Well, I think the tallest building in Arizona is probably like 20 stories at most. But I know like everything in New York is like 30 stories or higher, really, especially in like New York City. I'm just like, how is everything so tall?
So it's very cool at nighttime. And nighttime is really, I think, when New York is at its most epic because all the windows are like shining lights and you're walking down these long streets. Very cool. I think 3 or 4 o'clock is like existential crisis time, It's too much.
I could never.
Oh, that's great.
Kenzie, what did you have today?
Well, I decided that I was going to run a half marathon today, which
you ran it today?
I ran it this morning.
Or did you sign up for something?
Or was somebody chasing you with the life of a family member?
Kenzie's a runner now. I know.
I know. I don't know who I am anymore. What's funny is like, I still don't know what a runner's high is. I ran the New York City Marathon last year and I still don't know what a runner's high feels like. Like I've never had that. I'm just like constantly 10 minutes in. I'm like, okay, I'm over this. I got to keep going. So, but my youngest brother, Brant, shout out to Brant, and I were supposed to run this half marathon together because he decided that he was going to start getting into running too. And we were originally supposed to run a half marathon in March. But he rolled his ankle that Wednesday beforehand. So he didn't run it. So this was to make up for that. And then he tells me on like Tuesday that he can't get out of work. And I'm like, what are you doing here, bud?
Excuses.
I think he just doesn't want to run a half marathon, which I don't blame him. But so yes, I ran a half marathon today. And as I mentioned, it was raining today. So like halfway through, a whole downpour of the clouds came on top of me. And I was wow, okay, this is cool. And it was fine. Actually, I was waiting for it because it was so humid and there's nothing worse than like running in humidity. But then it rained and then it stopped raining and my feet were wet. And I've become that person where as soon as my feet get wet, I'm not happy. As soon as my socks are soaked, I am not having it.
Wet feet is the worst.
It is. It makes my feet like hurt in a way that I've never felt before. But so after that, I decided that I was going to get some coffee because I hadn't had any yet. And so I went to...
You didn't have any coffee before the marathon?
Oh. No, because it'll upset my stomach and then I'll have to make too many stops along the way. And so I try and be somewhat smart about it. But then I got a nitro cold brew with some almond milk in it from Pays Chateau. That is a local coffee roastery here in Arizona. So they have a roastery and then they sell their coffee to different local coffee shops also. So
that's nice. I love a nitro.
Me too. Oh my gosh. When Celeste and I worked at Starbucks, they came out with a cold brew and I wasn't a big fan. And then when they started doing nitro, I was like, I am all in. This is who I am now.
Yep. Oh, wow. You're a trooper.
You are a trooper. I can't believe it.
And I'm
We've
having
been on
people
here
over,
20 minutes and you're just bringing up that you already ran. I would have sat down and been like, do you know what I did today? I
try not to. I don't know why.
I'd make it my whole personality.
I would. Did you know what I did? I was proud I went to a stretching class. So
I mean, that's important.
it's actually not important, but it's not running a half marathon.
Yes, this is true. And then, like, I got home. I'm going to go into like a little bit too much detail. I have people coming over right after we're done with this, like an hour after we're done with this for dinner and trivia. And so I made ciabatta buns, and I did also make Brussels sprouts and acorn squash, and I prepared my potatoes, and then I made some shredded jackfruit, and that's all prepared for right after this call for me to throw things in the oven and just be like, okay, we're good to go.
So Kenzie, how did you prepare your Brussels sprouts for Leah so she gets
great question.
some ideas?
That is a great question. I love Brussels sprouts in a couple of different ways, but this one, what I'm doing is I cut off the end where they're attached to the actual branch itself, and then I slice them in half, and then I put them on a baking sheet, and then I bake them for probably about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how crunchy you like them. And I like to season them up however I am feeling that day. So like today I did a hickory balsamic vinegar. I did some garlic powder, salt and pepper. And I think that's
hickory balsamic?
Oh my gosh. It's
I
so
gotta write
good.
it down.
Yeah.
Are you making it? Do you make that?
No, I buy that. So I go to different like shops that sell like olive oils and balsamics and stuff like that, and like white vinegars that are all like flavored and specialty. And I bought a hickory balsamic, and it's one of my favorite things.
Delicious.
Okay.
There's actually a shop that you can order from it online. There's a place in Sedona that sells them, and they have a spot in Sedona and then Las Vegas, but they will also ship it to you. So I'll put that in our chat as well. So if you want to take a gander.
Yum.
Spirits and Spice.
Oh, okay.
I've seen people like season Brussels sprouts too. I've done it with them. I baked it also. And then you put the balsamic vinegar and then also a little honey drizzle.
Yep.
And it's like a sweet and savory. It's delicious.
That,
a lot of
there's like a little card
bacon
that comes with this branch that said maple syrup.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people like to do like that maple syrup and like bacon bits on there, and baking it that way if you're into bacon.
I'm not. I gave up red meat.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm trying to think what else.
I'm not eating anything
Mushrooms?
with nipples.
That's right.
Oh,
I
yes,
remember
we had
this
this
conversation. Anything with a nipple.
No nipples.
And then we determined chicken does not have nipples.
We have no chicken nuggets. Although I have something
nipples.
to add since last time. This is very big for me. Because I was just at the Natural Museum of History in New York, and they had this whole thing on cannibalism and how it's like, the quote was worst thing another human can do to another human. And I decided, I don't know why it bothers people so much. I don't think it's even in my top 100 of worst things. So although I will not eat cows and sheep and pigs, if a friend of mine dies and we are out in the cold, I will eat them. I have no problem with it, regardless of if they have nipples or not. So
yeah.
I think Celeste and I had this conversation when we did Jennifer's Body, because I sit there and I think about it. I'm like, is it not vegan to eat people because they're not animals? I'm like, or technically we are animals, but I was like, if given the option or had to,
right? Did you feel it? Like, I don't get why it's such a big deal.
Yeah. If it's life or death,
they're already dead.
A human. Yeah.
They're already dead. If it's the Donner Party, like, this is going to happen. History repeats itself. I think this has gotten too dark.
That's okay.
I would be fine with you all eating me if we were out and I froze to death, and enjoy it. Don't feel bad.
Same.
I would feel that.
I'm going to help you survive.
That's what I want to hear.
By all means, do it. And always, like, if we're in some kind of horrible situation and if the best chance for you to survive is to leave me behind, do it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
if I've broken something, if somebody's chasing after us, like, just leave me behind. It'll be fine.
Okay, we really differ there because if you
Oh,
leave me behind, I will mend my leg, find you, and
And then I will eat you.
then
That's
I
what
will leave you alive. Do not leave me
I
behind.
won't even wait till you die. You will be
Like, this is
That's very
revenge.
nice of you to volunteer yourself that way. I wouldn't. I couldn't leave somebody behind and live with myself.
Yeah. There is that. I volunteer as tribute that if need be
Aw.
and somebody is taking too long or is keeping everybody from being able to survive, I volunteer as tribute. I'm totally fine. Like, go on, live your best life.
I would just throw you over my shoulder and be like, "Get over it. We're all going together."
Yes, no man left behind.
No,
Nope.
fine.
Not on my watch.
Good to know. So if I'm ever stuck in a blizzard with Leah Bonnema, unless I die, she's not going to leave me behind. If I die, she'll
will
leave
not.
me. Technically, are you leaving me behind if you eat my dead body? But
No, I'm bringing you
Exactly.
with me.
yes, I'm now part of you.
It's like a friendship thing.
It is. That is, I think, as close as you can get to another human being.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah.
ate her. She's here with us now.
And not just in spirit. It's
Literally.
fine.
Like literally here.
So this is our Thanksgiving week episode.
Speaking of eating.
Speaking of eating.
Yeah.
So for November, we've been doing movies that have different family values to it and different family dynamics. And so Little Miss Sunshine came up because it's got such an incredible family dynamic to it. And from what I heard, you do enjoy this movie. So I'd love to know more about your history behind this movie. When's the first time you saw it? How
I
many
have
times
no
you've seen it?
idea when I first saw it because when did it come out?
I think 2005, maybe.
That one.
I want to say.
Everybody's so young in it.
2006.
I have it on DVD. And I love this movie so much. I've always loved this movie because all of the actors I'm a fan of all of their careers. Alan Arkin has always been a great love of my life. And I think the more I watch it, now I appreciate it more just for the structure of having everybody's stakes immediately so high right from the beginning. We know what everybody's personal thing is, and they're all in the same room, and then they're in one place. They have one goal. That's incredible. But for me, the movie, when I first saw it, which I won't say what the end is, but the end and the change in Greg Kinnear's character, all the characters, but like to come out and support somebody who is not fitting in, isn't that what we all want?
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes. Perfect description.
isn't that people stand by us and celebrate instead of being like, oh my God, you're not like the other people, be embarrassed. Instead, they're like, F that.
Yes. Many times throughout this movie.
Yes.
F that. Instead.
Oh, yeah.
And I know, Celeste, you've got a pretty storied history with this movie as well.
It came out in 2005, so I was maybe like a teenager when it came out. I don't think I appreciate, or not even a teenager. I don't know. I was young.
You're like,
so
I
don't think
wasn't even born yet. And I was already in my late 30s when this came out. So
I would say maybe tween, but I think we owned it on VHS, I want to say. Either DVD or VHS, because my mom loved this movie, but I don't think I appreciated it at the time because I was still young. But over the years, I've just grown to appreciate this movie. And this is literally a movie that I can go back and watch. And I do. Like every year, I'd say I watch this movie at least once because I just enjoy it that much. So I'm with you, Leah. I love this movie.
yeah, I feel like as a tween, the uncomfortability of it would outweigh what the emotional gains are for each of these people. And it's also, I don't think I would have appreciated the humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of humor.
Sure. So much like Celeste, I don't think I was the right age for this. So for whatever reason, I didn't watch it until Celeste had told me that you and her were talking about the grandfather character the gentleman who plays the grandfather, Alan Arkin, who passed away. And I had to then reveal to her that I'd never actually seen the movie. And so shortly thereafterwards, I watched it. And I think having been now in my late 20s, seeing it, I can appreciate it. Even though, like, I have been an Abigail Breslin stan for all of my life. I think, like, ever since I saw her in Signs, I love her in The Ultimate Gift. I loved her in everything she does, really. And so it is weird that I never did see this movie, but I'm so glad that I have now. But yeah, so we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
I also think like all of those people are knockout actors, and
absolutely.
all of them are phenomenal. And in this movie, like Toni Collette, Steve Carell, these are particularly different characters. I think everybody just did such a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
So good.
And I do love their like character arcs and their support of one another, and the idea that family is not perfect.
It's very
that
raw
each
and
person-
real. People can really relate to this family dynamic.
Oh yeah, it's just really like, everything happening wrong.
Oh,
And you feel for everybody.
Mhm.
I feel
Yeah.
like it takes you a while to feel for Greg Kinnear's character, because in the
Yeah.
beginning you're just like,
based
shut
on how it
up.
starts out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide if I do feel for him. Honestly, I'm just
It happened it happens eventually. Yeah.
yeah. At the very end, which we'll get to, he has some redeeming qualities to him.
I really feel like a lot of his redeeming quality comes to his facial responses to the
Pageant?
girls
Yeah.
pageant. He's like,
Oh my goodness. Alrighty. Should I get into the directors here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Alrighty. So this is husband and wife that directed this, Valerie Ferris and Jonathan Dayton. So just a tiny bit of info. They were both born in California, met at UCLA, where Valerie was actually studying dance.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know. And they married in 1988 and are still married to this day and have 3
good for
children.
them.
I know. That is awesome. They worked in music, television, directing music videos and documentaries for bands such as The Smashing Pumpkins, Jane's Addiction, Janet Jackson, Oasis, Weezer, and the Ramones.
I can tell you flat out, there's at least 5 of those bands that you just listed that I absolutely
Mhm.
adore.
I know they're all great bands. They really have had great taste from the beginning.
Yes.
And in 1998, Jonathan and Valerie co-founded Bob Industries, one of the country's leading commercial production companies.
Wow.
So
Why
they
would you name it
directed
Bob?
commercials. I wonder, yeah. Maybe it's like a little personal thing.
Maybe it's their dog's name.
Possible.
Is it a chicken the egg kind of thing then? Is it they would name the dog after Bob Industries, or is it Bob Industries after the dog?
Bob after the dog. I'm
I
just
like it.
guessing.
So they directed commercials for Sony, PlayStation, Target, IKEA, Apple, and SPN. ESPN, sorry.
We don't sport.
Not a
That
sports
is
person. I don't
well,
sport, yeah.
well-known factory,
They do a lot of ESP.
Yeah.
but no end.
No, and not for me. They're also known for directing 2017's Battle of the Sexes, starring Emma Stone and Steve Carell, and 2012's Ruby Sparks, starring Paul Dano and Annette Bening. So they worked with Steve Carell again and Paul Dano.
Oh, wow.
So getting into our cast, like you guys already mentioned, we've got Abigail Breslin, we've got Paul Dano, Toni Collette, Alan Arkin, Steve Carell, Greg Kinnear. And then also we've got Bryan Cranston. I did not see Ryan Gosling in this, but for some reason he's in the cast.
Yeah, I did not either.
Yeah, I
We've
did
got
not.
Dean
no.
Norris too. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh my boy, I was watching it with Dustin last night, and then we did not remember that it was Bryan Cranston who plays Stan.
Yeah,
And
I
then
didn't either.
Bryan Cranston and Dean Norris, who are both in, I love how my brain just went to a complete blank.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
Yep.
Wild.
So just a little fun facts about the cast. Bill Murray was the original choice to play Frank. And the second choice was actually Robin Williams.
I miss Robin Williams.
Live at the Met was like one of the first comedy albums I ever had. But I think that Steve Carell was a great role for this.
Very much so, yeah.
And Thomas Hayden Church turned down the role of Richard, a decision he said he later regretted. So he did Spider-Man, if any of you have seen.
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. All About Steve. He's in that too. I love that movie.
Oh, and he was in George of the Jungle. And We Bought a Zoo.
He's
in that George of the Jungle?
Yeah. He plays Lionel.
He's a really good comedic actor.
He's hilarious. Yep.
I think Greg Kinnear in this is so good because he plays it so straight. He's not funny.
Yeah, I concur. I don't think it would be the same because there's like a hint of sincerity in Greg Kinnear's portrayal of this role.
It feels like he really is wearing a flip phone on his belt with those horrible pants.
It's the classic dad trope. Yeah.
I felt like their outfits, whoever did the wardrobe for this, like knocked it out of the park. I got all of their characters without them having to say a word by their outfits.
Absolutely. Grandpa had a fanny pack with his
and a leather vest. What are we doing?
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. And then lastly, Donald Sutherland. I don't know if he's best known, but best known from The Hunger Games, Snow, almost won the role of Edwin Hoover before Alan Arkin was cast. So
once again, I can't imagine anybody other than Alan Arkin.
Me either.
I can't imagine him in it either. Yeah.
Oh, when he goes, well, we're not there yet, but when he goes and says that thing to Greg Kinnear's character in the van after what a moment.
Right.
With juxtaposed to when he's talking about you got to have sex with a lot of women. It's just perfect. Yeah. He's perfect.
Not just one, all of them.
He's hilarious. Alrighty. Do you guys want to get into the ratings?
Let's do it. So, Leah, we usually give our guests the option if they would like to read the 1 out of 10 or the 10 out of 10, if you remember from last time, or if you'd like, you can also sit that out. So is there one that you would rather read?
I hate negative reviews, so I almost want to read the 10 out of 10, but then also it's hilarious to me that somebody's such an idiot that they would give it 1 out of 10. But I'll read the 10 out of 10 just to, if I may. So if you guys want to do 1 out of 10.
All right. So I will read the 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. Oh, brother. Weird squiggly smiley face emoji thing.
I think that's
from
he
obviously
doesn't like.
Yeah, it's like a mustache face.
I don't know. Yeah,
I think that's a nose. Kind of... It's just the head, the eyes. I think a nose, and then a sad
mouth.
A sad mouth. Yeah.
This is one of the most elaborate non-emoji emojis I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's really a lot involved.
It's like when people used to make little bunnies or like things that were moving with the
oh, what a time in our lives.
That was a lot.
That was a MySpace era for sure. So 1 out of 10. Just don't understand how this movie got any favorable ratings at all. It assumes the audience is uneducated. It assumes the audience has absolutely no life skills or street smarts. The mother was completely unaware of anything to do with the daughter's contest. The uncle's preoccupation is never developed. Why introduce it? The brother, well, he was just filler. There weren't any stellar performances. Olive's father was obsessed with his 9-step program, but I was unable to determine how this affected the movie. This was just another ho-hum, unrealistic movie with lots of unnecessary expletives and noise.
I mean, it's almost unbelievable that people are allowed to have opinions because, like, this is... like that this can exist somewhere and actually affect the movie's rating, because it's like, what do you mean he was obsessed with his 9-step program and unable to determine how it affected the movie? It's driving half the plot.
It is, yeah. It's how they're in the situation that they're in.
What are you trying? And then the mom was a completely unaware of everything to do with the daughter's contest. It's her want for the daughter.
Right.
Who is this person? They go through life like this, missing the entire point. And leaving reviews places. I can't.
What was so sad is how many 1-star reviews there were. A lot of times when we go to look for the 1 out of 10s, there's not that many. But there were so many 1 out of 10 reviews that I was like, what is wrong with people? Like,
They must have perfect families and they can't
Right?
understand.
They
how
couldn't relate to the movie.
Oh, for sure they do not. For sure they do
they
not.
they've never understood like struggle and how different you are, and like the fact that not everything in life is easy, and
These
that
are spoiled trust fund babies. This is
Or it's the other way
around.
around. I think they don't have a sense of humor either,
That-
these people.
Yeah.
they took this way too seriously. All right, so 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. This movie better win the Oscar. This was the best movie of 2006. I am trying to think of even just one movie that compares to Little Miss Sunshine, and I cannot. The humor of this film was hilarious. I wish I was more articulate so I could think of a better word. This is what I'm talking about. I almost couldn't stop laughing at some parts. The dysfunctionalness of the family may seem insane to some people, but I believe it really reflects a lot of American families. Yes. If you see only one movie this year, make it this one. It deserves an Oscar, not only for the direction, but for the actors' performances and the writing and the cinematography. The list goes on and on. See this movie. It's amazing. Hear, hear.
Yep.
I concur.
Hear, hear.
Preach. Yep. All right. Let's go ahead and shall we get into the notes?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So we open up with Olive watching the Miss America pageant. So we get our first introduction of her. We then move on. Like you said, Leah, we get a glimpse of everyone and we already know basically everything about them and they don't even need to speak. We move on to Richard giving this very inspirational speech to sell his 9-step program, who throughout the film cannot shut up about the 9 steps. He's really insufferable. But just based on how his family reacts, it's just something they tolerate and are just used to. And then his favorite line is there are winners and there are losers, to like an audience of 6 people.
So I also have to just say, like, I've been watching or listening to a lot of like podcasts and movies about like cults, and I feel like he's an aspirational cult leader is really what he's trying to do here.
It gave, what is that? Like a pyramid scheme. Like
yes, MLMs.
That's what it was given. Yep.
I also give the vibe of somebody who so desperately doesn't want to be losing that he's like trying to speak into existence before we had manifesting conversations. We're winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I wonder if The Secret was out by this time.
If what
When
was out?
did that come out?
The Secret, it's a book that is all about the law of attraction and manifesting your dreams and putting intentionality. Basically what a lot of people do nowadays, like manifest that shit. So
it definitely doesn't use phrases like winners and losers, which is poo-poo language.
So then we move on to Dwayne, who's doing pull-ups. And then we see he's counting down on a calendar. We got Grandpa doing drugs in the bathroom. He's snorting cocaine.
It's heroin.
It's heroin.
I just want to make that clarification.
Yes.
That is heroin.
It is very important. It's heroin.
I think it's just so weird because we're so used in like movies and stuff like that. Anytime you see like a white powder on something and you're snorting it, it's usually cocaine. And so I don't think we've ever seen too many people snort heroin.
No.
Most of the time it's like shooting it up.
It's just because he sits down after. That's really it. As opposed to go out and writing a manifesto.
Yeah.
Oh no. So Cheryl's driving to a hospital. She's speaking on the phone with Richard, telling him that he has nowhere else to go. And at the hospital, she picks up her brother Frank, who was there because he tried to take his own life. So she brings him home, and per doctor's orders, he has to bunk with Dwayne.
Well, he's really just not
like
allowed to be by himself.
Yeah, and I liked this character distinction for her because it was like she is like, I can't, it's like, because she's just like, hey, we can't leave you alone. I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? It's like this, she's like, you see her wanting to make everything okay. And but she's still talking. She's not somebody who's putting things under the rug. You know what I mean? She's like, but she's like, we can't shut the door. You can't be, I think a very interesting for her mother, another detail to her character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Richard gets home. He's waiting for a call from a Sam Grossman regarding a book signing for his 9 Steps. Apparently it was a done deal and he's just waiting on the call. Then we get to dinner time where a lot goes on during this dinner.
This is probably what a lot of people's Thanksgivings are going to look like this week.
Yep.
Yeah, dig in, people.
This is a glimpse into our future. So we learned that Dwayne has taken a vow of silence until he's reached his goal of joining the Air Force Academy. Grandpa comes in. He's flipping out about having chicken again. So Olive, she notices the cuts on Frank's wrists and asks how it happened. So yeah, like you said, they're very open and honest people. They're not like trying to tiptoe around the subject. So he actually shares with her like every moment that occurred that brought him to that decision.
It's very
my
funny. They did
It's
it
so
so
funny
well.
because she's like, why did
Is
you
that
do that?
right?
And he's like, well, I fell in love with this boy. And she's like, a boy? How silly. And
That's
then he's
what-
like,
yeah.
And she's like, is that when you did it? And he's like, no. Then he went and he got together with my arch enemy. And then she's like, well, is that when you did it? And he's like, no. He wrote a book and he has now been deemed the #1 Proust expert. And so that's when I did it. And it just keeps going on and on. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
So well done. And
Oh, it
then
was
there's
so
Greg
funny.
Kinnear's character trying to fit it all into his 9 steps. And you're like,
Yes.
shut
Oh,
up.
yes.
Yeah.
No.
And obviously, like, I don't know how long the hostility between Frank and Richard, who's Greg Kinnear's character, like their characters have in like immediate friction. And so I wonder
Yes.
how long that relationship's been rubbing against one another, because you can tell like the second that they start to interact, like there's already some animosity there.
And then also over this dinner, Olive happening to make it to the Little Miss Sunshine pageant. She freaks out, but they're having some money issues, we find out. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to go. They ultimately decide that they all need to go. And so everyone agrees to go to California for Olive for the Little Miss Sunshine pageant.
From Albuquerque.
From Albuquerque. Yep. That is
I think
correct.
somebody, she's just screaming, running around in a circle,
Yeah.
packing. And they're like having a breakdown of like, well, we can't leave him here and we can't pay for that. And it's perfect. It's a perfect
Yeah.
scene.
That really encapsulates how family dynamics are sometimes, where it's just like
Mhm.
everybody's doing their own kind of thing while you're trying to figure things out, but it's all in the same goal.
I think you really do see love in those characters because they
Mhm.
want so much for Olive to get what she wants that they're all willing to get into this vehicle together for this. What is clearly, even if all the bad things that didn't happen, it's still going to be a shit journey. You're in a car together with people that you're uncomfortable with.
With your family. Yeah.
For days.
It's a hell for a lot of people.
And especially, I don't know if you've ever driven through New Mexico, but if you've ever driven through New Mexico, there's nothing there for so much of the time.
Yes.
I've driven there before too.
Oh, it's either that or it looks like abandoned zombie apocalyptic towns that you just drive through. And you're like, all right, well, we're just going to keep on going.
We stayed in New Mexico, actually, at a place, the town was called Moriarty,
Okay.
which is my favorite Sherlock Holmes villain. And I was like,
Yeah.
let's pull over here. And there was a
How did
big
that go?
bat community at the hotel where we stayed. Like there were this huge thing of bats. And I was like, this was the perfect choice. I love
That
bats.
sounds amazing.
Right? Go to the Best Western in Moriarty, bats in the back. Also, the place uses the same cleaning stuff as my Nana used. And I've never had this happen where I walked in and my eyes just welled up because it smelled like my Nana and I hadn't smelled it in so long. And you're just standing there in public and you're like, sorry, it smells like my Nana. And it's a great place. I'm going back. Going back.
We'll make it
my
happen. Oh my God.
That's
Also, the
amazing.
first place I ever had Taco Bell in my life. That was this year.
Really?
I never
What?
had Taco Bell.
Oh my gosh.
It was the only place that was open by the time we got there. My first
I do
Taco
have to
Bell.
ask you, what did you think?
I had a great time. I grew up without fast food, so I find it very exciting.
Oh,
I get that.
I just had
I love
like
Taco Bell.
It was really good.
it is.
I would do it
It is
again.
delicious.
Love Taco Bell. If I'm feeling like fast food, my number one fast food choice is Taco Bell. And then next to that is probably Chipotle.
I love Pollo Loco.
Both great
Yeah.
choices.
I feel like you don't eat chicken. Is that correct?
No,
You're a
I
vegan,
don't.
right?
But I know that's a thing. Yeah. Neither of us actually eat chicken.
You don't eat chicken either?
No, I don't eat meat
For all
either.
3 of us. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
there you go.
So none
I'll
of us
get
eat
my shit
bacon.
together.
Yeah.
My bad. I've known some very mean chickens, so I just
I don't
Taco
like
Bell is
birds,
delicious.
honestly.
It is.
Birds
yeah.
terrify me. So
They're
Birds are
dinosaurs.
scary.
they are. And they
True.
attack me all the time. I tell people we've got the zoo out here where they've got peacocks that roam free along with some ducks and stuff like that.
Yes!
And they follow me for a while when I go there.
I wonder what it is.
I don't know.
We're
But when I
attracted
was
to you.
very young, I also was attacked by, I think, a flock of geese. So
I think that's happened to
Wow.
everyone. Me and
Yeah.
my cousins got chased by a flock of geese too.
they're
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
It's never happened to me. And this is, I feel like, why you would eat them. Just to let them
That
know
should've
who's on top.
fueled our reason to eat them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what it is, I'm like, nope, I didn't do anything wrong. Leave me alone. I'm trying to make peace.
You're hoping that they sense your veganism.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. So Frank's bunking with Dwayne now. And
Ugh.
I love how right before they go to bed, because he's not speaking, he writes, "Please don't kill yourself."
Yes.
So blunt, and I love it.
It's
Really
very
good.
sweet, honestly. He's like,
It's sweet.
please just don't.
Yeah, please don't. Please
Well, I
don't
think
kill
it's also,
yourself, and
it's like,
welcome to
don't do
hell.
it tonight.
Yeah.
Because I can't take it. Do it somewhere else. I feel that's what that was.
Oh man. So they hit the road. And yep, Grandpa gives Dwayne the advice to fuck a lot of women. And
That's an incredible scene.
So funny.
yes, because they're like, Olive's in the car, and he's like, she can't hear. And so
Yeah.
what does he say? He's like, hey, Olive, I'll give you $100 or something to turn around, and nothing.
It was $1 million. And then when she
$1
takes her
million,
thing off, she goes, what are you guys talking about? And he's like, politics? And she's like, and then puts it back on.
Yeah.
What I got out of this whole exchange is when you're young, fuck a lot. And when you're old, do drugs. Don't do it when you're young because that's just stupid.
Yeah.
That shit will mess you up. Wait till you're old. Yep.
It was so good. It was so, it's like such a great, it's like a monologue, but it's broken up with the other character. But then really, he's just got this great whole piece.
Yeah, he does. And he shares how he got kicked out of Sunset Manor for snorting heroin. So
Is that
they
where he
stopped-
says he loves it? Because there were so many women. Oh, no, that's later. When
Is
he
that where he
says there
says-
was like 4 women to every man and he had like rug burn on his peenie.
Oh yeah, that's where he says it. Yep.
It's so good.
It's great. You got 4 women to every man. So they stop for lunch, and we get Richard's character creeping out here again, and he basically fat shames his daughter for wanting to eat some ice cream. Poor thing is just trying to enjoy her alamoti ice cream. He's like, well, all of it turns into fat. And like those women on the pageants, like, are they skinny or are they fat? And she's like, well, I guess they're skinny. So he's just starting that trauma that I feel like so many teenage girls go through.
Oh, I thought it was so good, especially if any of us who grew up in the 80s. I feel like people didn't talk about things in the same way as they do now. And that really, I feel like sums up our childhoods where people being like just so nasty about it. You want to like climb across the table and just punch him in the face. And I love how the rest of the family steps in. Instead of joining in with him, they're like, oh, no.
Yes. And you feel the tension too. Like at one point, she's like, why does everybody look sad? Like, poor sweet girl.
And you really feel a tension between, you already felt it, but between the wife and the husband, they're really on 2 different roads.
Absolutely.
Right. We have to think that if Dwayne is 15 and if they did the get married before you have kids thing, then they've probably have been together for like 17, maybe 20 years or something like that. And I'm just like, what would it be like to be married to a guy like that for 17 to 20 years?
You have to imagine
Oh,
he was
God.
different in the beginning, and
You
that
have
things
to.
started to happen and that life started beating him down. So he developed this other thing to not feel that. And it became this monster that's so annoying.
Oh, yeah. We got Cheryl, who's attempting to learn how to drive a clutch. Clutch ends up being broken. Can either of you drive clutch? Because I cannot.
I stalled out at a toll booth and I got so anxious that I couldn't get it back into gear the more I tried. And so ever since then, I was like, I'm not doing it again. I think I could under duress, but it's been a very long time.
My dad tried to teach me how to drive a stick on a VW Bug, and I'm pretty sure there was something wrong with the clutch also. And so after a while, I was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done.
I feel like it's one of those apocalypse skills where you feel like somebody in your household has to have it. Somebody's got to be able to do it. Probably not me. This vehicle reminds me so much of the ones we had growing up, because we had cars that we actually had a car that wouldn't start and stop again. So my mom I would roll out the passenger side and she would like slow down when it turned, and then I would jump back in. It was a Datsun. I don't know if you guys remember those.
Oh no.
No.
But that's
and we would.
Oh, man. So this brings back memories for you then.
That brings like a lot of memories for me.
I love it.
Oh, man. Yeah, so the mechanic guy lets them know it's still drivable. They just got to give a little push. So that's where we get
What
that.
I love is he's like, you got to make sure that it gets up to 15 to 20 miles per hour before it goes into gear. And I'm like, they're pushing it and then they're running alongside of it. That is definitely not 15 to 20 miles per hour. I will tell you that much now.
Well, it's nice of him to share the information, though. He could have just been like, you got to wait for the clutch.
Yeah.
I'm sure he saw how desperate they were. He was like, listen, guys. Oh, man. So, yep, they push one by one. They all get in.
I mean, it is that feeling you see for that 1 second. They all feel happy, like they came together when they all get, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They all were able to work together.
Teamwork. Yep. Brings them together. And then on another downside, on the road, Richard finds out that the deal fell through. So his 9 steps is not moving forward anymore.
And then Alan Arkin characters gives that.
He knows
what we all want from our parents. It's so sincere. It's like,
yeah. So he sees Frank or Richard on the phone. And he already knows. He's like, it's not going to happen. And you can see him feel for him too.
And then he goes up to the front seat. That's when that happens, right? People don't even try.
Right.
So Frank runs into his ex at the convenience store.
Oh, that's right. I'm jumping ahead. Sorry. Oh.
No, you're good. This guy looks like a Ken doll. Did anybody? He's like,
he really does.
French, preppy. Yes.
While he's buying porn.
Yep. Well, they're catching
grandpa.
up. They're like scanning for him too, because there's a guy one. Because he's like, get something for yourself too. Yeah.
Which I thought was so nice. That was his way of being like,
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they forget Olive at the store.
Yeah.
Because and it's Dwayne. He writes a little note. He says, "Where's Olive?" And they're like, "Oh my God." So they got to roll back, and poor girl has to run and jump in.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah. And that's when we do. Yeah, I get that sweet moment when Grandpa tells Richard that regardless, he's still proud of him.
And it is true. A lot of people never try.
For fear of failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned to embrace the motto, all you can do is ask. The worst they can say is no.
Which is terrorizing. But it's so true.
It is.
Scary.
You just have to make it happen. And you don't want that first person to say no is yourself. So you just got to do it.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought you were going to say, have the confidence of a white man.
That too. I always have this idea in my head that you have to have the confidence of a mediocre white man. You just have to go for it.
My friend called me recently. She's like, I don't want to do this. I don't feel prepared. I go, can you just pretend you're a man for 1 second and be like, oh, I'm not prepared, which means I should absolutely do this. I'm going to knock it out of the park.
Right.
Yes.
I was like, and meanwhile, she was prepared. You know what I mean? Unbelievable.
Yeah. Man, oh man. So then we've got one of my favorite scenes, if not one of my favorite scene of the movie. So before bed, Olive and Grandpa are sharing a room at a hotel.
Oh,
and she
that's so
asks Grandpa
sweet.
if she's pretty. And he's like, what? He's like, Olive, you are the most beautiful girl in the world. And then she begins to cry and says that I don't want to be a loser because Daddy hates losers. And so he tells her that a real loser is somebody who doesn't try. And so she's trying, so she can't be a loser.
Right. So this scene, and
So
then
good.
the ending, and then of course when Grandpa's telling Dwayne to fuck a lot of women. Those are my 3 favorite scenes of this whole movie.
It's such a good scene. You can have one relative to tell you that you're great. It only, you know,
it can make all the difference in the world.
It really can.
it really can.
You just need one person to believe in you.
Legitimately.
Oh man. So that night, Cheryl and Richard are arguing, and he decides that he's going to make things right. And he borrows a moped and drives over 23 miles to Scottsdale to see Sam Grossman to fix things.
Well, and part of what they're arguing about is the fact that Richard has used all of their money for this 9 steps program that he's doing, and then because it's not working out, it's bankrupted the family, and she doesn't know about it.
And also Cher's been having to carry all the weight of being the sole financial provider. So there's just this.
And we get that
building up.
weird smile from the son as he listens to them fighting in the next room.
And Steve Carell's character is just like, don't listen to them. It's fine. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. He's like, you don't want to listen to that. And then puts on politics on TV. He's like, watch this instead.
Seems happy enough.
Yeah. So he ends up meeting with Stan Grossman, who just tells him it's over. It's not going to happen. Give up already.
And then he says, it's not the idea. It's you. Nobody knows who you are.
You're the problem.
Which I feel is so true. Like, if you're going to have some kind of motivational speaking gig or some kind of program like this, like, people don't want it because they think that it works. They want it because you're charismatic and because you're making a name for yourself and people are starting to hear about you, or you're already famous and then you're bringing out, this is my next great thing and this is how I became so successful, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. They need proof that it works.
In that moment, I was like, why don't you guys get together and go sell it to somebody famous and they can pretend it was their idea and you can just have the money. But they didn't ask me my opinion on how they could.
They clearly should have. Why were you not in Scottsdale?
Why was I not available?
Oh, goodness. So tragedy strikes. Next morning, Olive wakes up her parents to tell them that Grandpa won't wake up.
You're like, what else can go wrong?
I know, these poor people, right?
This is
the
one
worst
hell of a weekend
possible thing,
tell you
right?
what.
And they all are like getting more and more harried looking. They're just like sweaty and wrinkled. And you're just like,
Life is beating them down, man.
beating them down.
So they're at the hospital. Grandpa has passed. And then Richard's trying to make an arrangement with the bereavement liaison. But she ain't having it. She's got two, man. She is a sassy woman.
Wow.
I love her response. She's like, you are not the only person who lost somebody today.
I feel like this is when we start to see the change from the night before in Richard's character.
And
Because he was like, I got to fix this. I want for my family. And then now he is moved from whatever desperate is into this state of what can I salvage?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that there is some relief that comes from something that you've been working so hard for not coming together and letting it go. Like, there's so much that is lifted off of your shoulders and then you're able to realign and refocus. And so I think that's part of what happened also.
He didn't know before also. I totally agree. And before he was like in this, is it still? And now it's like the bottom's out. Now you got to move forward.
Man, oh man. Yeah.
This
So
is a great scene.
he breaks. He's like, God damn it, Dad. Like, you had to die because those
In the wrong
shit
state.
didn't hit, right? As though
They're
we
in
weren't,
Arizona
like,
now. They still have to get to California,
screwed.
and they're from New Mexico.
Oh, man. So he's like, fuck this. He's like, no, this is not the end for us. So they decide to sneak Grandpa's body out.
Out the window.
Out the window.
Out the
They
window.
sneak it. Everybody's got a part. Olive's watching by the curtain. Dwayne and Frank are outside ready to catch the body out of the window, and they book it. But
And I think
Grandpa-
Frank is really like getting
In the
into being a
trunk.
part of the family. He's like, okay.
Mhm. Yes.
I think partially because like they've already gotten over the uncomfortability of him trying to kill himself, that now they can move on and he can become himself again, or he can rebuild his personality and really get to be a part of the family in that aspect as well.
Love it, love it. So he says they can still make the pageant. So they're back on the road again. Grandpa's in the trunk. A car cuts them off when Richard honks. His horn gets stuck. And of course, a police officer pulls them over. They're thinking they're screwed. And so the police officer is walking towards the back, and Richard's just like, no. And so he's like, sir, I have probable cause to check your vehicle now.
Yeah, he's like making the worst face ever. You know what I mean,
Right?
Richard? You're like, stop making that face.
He's got guilty all over his face,
Yeah.
right?
He's like,
All
don't
over
go in
his
the back. You're like,
He's like, no.
"Stop."
Oh, man. And so, of course, when the police officer opens the trunk, he finds the porno, gets distracted by it.
He doesn't notice
Well, he thinks
anything
that's what
else
he's
in the trunk.
hiding.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
He thinks he's hiding it from his wife.
He looks at everybody and he just waves at them with like
He's
an
like,
all-knowing
"Nice
smiling
family."
look. He's like, oh, I love this one. And it's like Jugs or something like that is the porno man.
Yes. Yep. And then I love how he gets to the men's.
Yeah, the gay porno.
Yep, the gay porno. He's just like, oh. He's like, you can have this back.
I love how Richard is still like, that's fun too. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, it's fine. Oh boy.
Oh,
I thought for
man.
sure the cop was actually going to like take them and be like, okay, well, I'm on my way
Keep
now.
them for him.
Bye.
Yeah. I'm going to confiscate these. Yeah. I thought that.
I did too.
They'll never make it into evidence.
Right? Oh, man. So once again, they're back on the road, these poor people.
Still honking.
Still honking away. Yep. And Olive decides to test Dwayne's vision, only to
Ugh.
find out that he's colorblind. So Frank tells him that he can't be a pilot if he is colorblind.
Which what a
and
time
then-
to tell him. That's like such a weird
Right.
that he would just tell him.
So he has a full-blown meltdown. So they got to pull over again. Poor guy. And then he has a moment where his mom is like, we got to keep going. And he just attacks her verbally. He's like, you're a divorcee, you're bankrupt, you're suicidal, like F all of you. He's just snaps. And then, of course, him and Olive have a moment and he's back. He
I feel like this
apologizes.
family really only comes together over Olive. Like they're
Yes.
really
Yeah,
are
she's
just
like the
solid for
glue
Olive.
to this family.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
She's the one that really brings everyone together.
And she doesn't say anything. She just puts her head on his shoulder. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
What I also love is that when they finally do make it up the hill, he actually like he apologizes. Like he says,
Yes.
I'm really sorry about my outburst and for the words that I said. I was very upset. And like that's something that not enough
It's
people
so
do.
big.
That was so big.
Especially
I also
for
love they all just
15-year-olds.
accepted the apology. They
Yeah.
were like, okay. And then they moved on. A lot of people won't accept apologies either. When you're like, I
Mhm.
sincerely apologize. Can we move past it?
Yeah.
Right.
People hold grudges.
And this kid, he's a 15-year-old kid who's only ever had his sights on becoming a fighter pilot. And
Mhm.
to know that your one and only dream that you've been silent for 9 months over for your vow of silence is not going to be attainable for you, that is a whole thing. Like being 15 in itself is a hard thing to do. And then have your entire world come crashing in on you like that. I totally get it.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like he really handled it like a champ.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yes, everybody makes up, they move on. They rush to make it to the pageant in time. They're busting through parking lots. They're driving on sidewalks. Like
I forget what the arm is called on the
the little lifting.
like
I don't know
a
what it's
parking
called.
lot arm or something of that nature. He just breaks through that because he's like, I can't stop. If I stop,
he's just
we can't
committed.
get going.
Yeah, it's like we're committed to
like,
getting there.
We're getting there at whatever cost. But I love how this scene, like, it's so relatable that they missed the exit when they're on the freeway, because I hate driving in California on their freeway.
Yeah.
You guys have
the freeways
so
are nightmarish.
many. They really are. So when it happened, when they were like, oh my gosh, it's right there. And then they realized they were turning on a freeway. I'm like, oh my God, I've been there so many times.
Well, and what's funny is like, because this was 2006, you know, this was like a MapQuest era. Like they didn't have GPS on their phones yet because they obviously didn't know that's where the exit was. But to your point, Celeste, like in California, unfortunately, like so many of the exits come from either left or right.
Yeah.
So you never know which way you're going.
In our state, it's only right. Yeah. And them, it's really anyway.
It's lawless. It's lawless over here.
It is, man.
I cannot imagine doing it without a GPS on your car.
No. I could not.
I don't know.
I don't know how people did before.
Me neither.
I would have to leave with like 2 hours extra time just to make sure that I have enough time to get lost.
Yes.
Enough buffer time. Yep.
Buffer time.
Oh man. So check-in time is cut at 3. They arrive literally minutes afterwards when the Miss Jenkins is not allowing it. She's like, you're too late. I already turned off our computers. She says, I don't want to give you a disadvantage. Poor Richard gets on his knees and begs. He's pleading when like the guy next to her, he's like, it takes like 2 minutes. I'll just do it. Like,
thank God for that guy.
Like,
right? He's like, it's no biggie. Yeah. He's like, I'm never working for these people again. They're psychotic.
But you see that character who's like holding on to her power. You know what I mean? This is her thing. That's her power.
Take her job way too seriously. Yeah.
She's not going to use it compassionately.
And to think like, I was waiting for him to say like, my dad just died.
Yeah.
Like we had all these different things, but he didn't even have to go there because the guy just swooped in and he was like,
yep,
it's fine. Like I'll just spend another couple of minutes. They're the only ones. And she's like, whatever, it's your time.
Oh, amazing. So Olive gets to meet Miss California. The only thing she asks is that if she likes ice cream, in which she answers, I love ice cream. So it was so sweet when they're walking away. She's like, Mom, did you hear? She likes to eat ice cream.
Specifically chocolate cherry Garcia, which I think is iconic because in San Diego, there's a Ben & Jerry's like shop or something like that where you can get Ben & Jerry's ice cream there. I know that technically Ben & Jerry's is from Vermont, I think, but there's cherry chocolate Garcia is one of Ben & Jerry's flavors and it just makes me so happy.
Yeah. Seaport Village, is it? In San Diego?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yep, I've been there. Yeah.
If you get the chance, Leah, go. It's great.
I know. I'm literally clocking it.
What's fantastic is they also have the vegan options too. So
I get their vegan ice. They have incredible vegan ice cream.
Yes. So good.
You're like, why is this so good?
You're like,
because it was made right.
Really is. Seaport what? Seaport
Village. Like it's in downtown San Diego. Seaport Village.
We go there for the dog beach is there, I think.
Oh, cute.
Really
take Lacey Jane.
Beach. She loves a beach.
She was meant to be a California girlie.
She's a California girl.
Yeah,
she is. Via Mexico.
I mean, Baja California, you know, it's in Mexico.
Yes. Alrighty. So Cheryl and Olive go backstage to get ready. And you walk in, and these girls are like, they're professional beauty pageant contestants. Like, one's getting toddlers and tiaras, full blown. Like, one's getting a spray tan. One is getting her hair done. That's like the size of her. It's not natural because I know big hair. That ain't.
You have big hair.
Yes, I have big hair in that. But yeah, so you can already tell that she's going to stick out like a sore thumb amongst these other girls. And Richard calls a local funeral home to pick up Grandpa's his body. He lies. He's like, I know he fell asleep in the back and that's what we thought. And then I love their reaction when he opens the back.
Yeah. And
Like,
he's just
okay,
in the
where's his
trunk.
body? And they're like,
Well, and they were like, oh no, that happens all the time. You go on a road trip, they fall asleep, and then they just die. That's fine. And then when he's like, so where's the body? So he walks around, opens up the trunk, and it's wrapped in a sheet, and he gives them a side eye like, are we sure this is on the up and up?
they're like, oh my. So we got the pageant that begins. The host is clearly wearing like a toupee that looks like it's glued on. Again,
The host is such a
he's
tool.
spray painted orange.
He's so perfect. Like, it's so perfect. He's just, it's unbelievable.
I cannot stand when he starts singing America.
And he comes and puts
Those
their
poor
faces next
girls.
to all of them.
Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah,
so
this pageant's
creepy.
very
I'm just like,
disturbing.
Well, I think it shows how disturbing it is. Just with Olive there in the middle is like the regular girl, and then you see this around it, and you're like, ah.
oh boy.
What I hate is that there's a swimsuit competition.
No,
So
there's
in
no
a
weird.
child
7-year-old.
starts off with a swimsuit catwalk that I'm like, why is that necessary? Like, this is real.
It's real. It's a real thing. And that's when I love
It
we start
is.
getting Richard's faces.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, they
He's
keep
watching and
editing
he's
him
like-
being like, what?
And then I love that
Uh,
Richard, he makes friends with one of the other like pageant dads. And this
Mhm.
pageant dad is wearing like this jean vest and has tattoos and has like a biker vibe to him. And he's just got like, what are they called? Earplugs in. And
Mhm.
Richard's
And he's like, first
so-
time.
yeah.
He
Richard's like,
tunes
you have
out.
a daughter in this? And he's
Yeah.
like, this is your first time, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. And he doesn't even respond after that.
No. So they go backstage to do a costume change, it looks like. And poor Olive has this moment where she's backstage and she's looking at herself in the mirror and sucks in her belly.
I do this all
and-
the time.
Oh my gosh. I
not
know.
fun.
It's so heartbreaking because you see like starts to develop that negative relationship with your body, like so many of us have. And I'm like, oh,
Mm. And so young, you're like, God.
yes, heartbreaking. So it's talent competition time, and these girls, man, like one's yodeling, one is like an acrobat, like there's some
She's like
serious
rolling
stuff.
over her head backwards.
Yeah.
I loved that one.
So Dwayne and Frank come in. They literally walk in and then they walk right back out. Like they're like, what the fudge, dude? And Dwayne's like, yep, I'm going to go tell her.
I will say this is after Dwayne and Frank go out to the pier and they have a very
yeah.
lovely conversation and like heart to heart with one another because Dwayne just wants to be over with high school as any 15-year-old does. And Frank is like, you know what? Proust, he was a French writer. He did almost nothing exciting with his life. He spent 20 years writing a book, but he said that when he was looking back over his life, the only good times was when he was suffering. Anytime that he was doing okay, he didn't learn anything. So you just got to stick it out. You got to suffer. That's what helps you build, so on and so forth. And so they have this really great heart to heart where they have sarcasm and family connection and just saying, hey, you can do this kind of a thing. So I loved that part also.
Yeah, it was great.
There's a lot of, like little mini sweet tender moments in the movie.
And then as a really random aside, sorry, real quick. I've been wanting to say this throughout the entire episode. I just couldn't figure out where to put it in. Have you all ever seen Horton Hears a Who?
No, but I
didn't
remember the
see it.
book.
Okay. So in Horton Hears a Who, ironically enough, Steve Carell plays his character who's the mayor of Whoville. And he's got like 1,000 daughters, but only like one son. And his son, Jojo, looks exactly like this character.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's got like
Oh.
black hair and he looks a spitting image of him. And it just makes me laugh every time I see it.
Oh, wow. I should
Gonna
see
have to
that.
watch it.
I feel like this movie is the perfect mix between extremely uncomfortable and sad moments, humor, and then tender moment. And it really just
Mhm.
boom, boom.
Such a good balance of it all.
Yep.
All right. I've put the Google search of JoJo looking
Yes.
like Dwayne in the chat.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
yes. Wild. This must have been after that movie, right?
I think Horton Hears a Who was after Little Miss Sunshine. Yeah.
Maybe the animator was a huge fan.
Yeah. So he based it off that character. Yep.
Ugh.
Okay, I just pulled it up. Oh
It's
my
so good.
gosh. Wow. It's amazing.
Sorry. Now I'll let you go on. That was my random
No,
aside
you're
that I
good.
needed to point out.
Oh man. Okay. So yeah, so both Richard and Dwayne head backstage to tell Cheryl to not let Olive go on stage because everyone is going to make fun of her. So poor Dwayne is pleading with Cheryl. She's like, you're her mom. You need to protect her. Everybody's going to make fun of her. But that's when she says, you know what? We need to let Olive be Olive. If this is what she wants to do, then we need to support her.
Which I love. I love that she was like, no, we're going to let her do her thing. She has this choice. She has the autonomy to be able to make these decisions for herself. And she has this dream. I want her to be able to move as far forward as she can. And she wants to in this.
Yes. Great mom. She's a great mom.
Yes.
In every movie Toni Collette's in, she's a great mom. Although,
Yes.
I think.
And they're different. They're always different. They're different kinds of great moms.
Yeah. So Olive goes
I
on
think the only
stage.
questionable one, sorry,
Oh, no, you're good.
is
Go ahead.
Heredity. She may not have been such a great mom. But
I
that's
didn't
because
see that one. I know my personal
Well,
limits. And
I only watched half of it. That one I wasn't able to finish. Yeah. Oh man. So Olive goes on stage and I love it because she says that she wants to dedicate this to her grandpa who showed her these moves. And so the host is like, oh my gosh, so sweet. Where's your grandpa right now? And she just goes, in the trunk of our car. And his face,
the
he's
most
like,
accurate 7-year-old response ever.
yeah.
he's just like, okay. Like, what do you say to that?
You're like, all right.
Alrighty. So she does her dance, her performance to Super Freak. And it is just the most sweet and like innocent, most adorable thing you've ever seen. And it's hilarious because you've got
It's
her grandpa's
hilarious.
moves in there. Like, it's just
So funny. I love it because she comes out in like joggers, a button down, a vest, and a top hat with a headband underneath the top hat. And she
A
proceeds.
tie, a red tie.
Oh, and a red tie. You're right. She
Yep.
proceeds to take each article of clothing off in some kind of striptease type of dance move, but she's a 7-year-old, so she's doing it with the enthusiasm of a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's got this one really great move where she puts her fingers behind her head as if she were going to do like a crunch or something like that. And then she brings her elbows in and out and she just thrusts back and forth. And it's so good.
And until this moment, because the first time you see it, you have absolutely no idea that this is what the dance is going to be. You
yeah. We don't see
ready
any
for it to be.
of it.
Yeah, you are like assuming it's going to be. Thinking back, I would have had to been like, "There's going to be something with the dance." But at the time, the first time, I was like, "Oh,
Yes.
it's just as soon as it starts, you're like, oh, this is not a regular dance."
Yes. Yeah, I think going into it, everybody knows like there's going to be something unconventional about it just because of how involved the grandpa was.
Yes,
But this was still
it
out
was
there and
so
hilarious.
perfect.
Yep.
So good.
So she's doing her thing up there. She's unbothered. She is in the zone. But the audience there's walking out. People are booing. And so one of the judges she gets the host. She's like, you need to get her off stage. And so he's trying to chase her, but she keeps going. She's not giving up on this dance.
She's doing little jumps.
Yep. So Richard, he's like, don't touch my daughter. He's like ready to go attack this man. But he ends up joining her. Richard begins dancing with Olive on stage in support. And one by one, the rest of the family joins in.
I think my favorite is when Dwayne starts pelvic thrusting.
Yes, it's so good.
It's so funny.
Yep.
And from them standing up to be like, how do we handle this? How do we handle this? And then, we're stand up. And then they try to pull her off stage. And then you think he's going to go on there. And that's that moment, I feel like, where you're like, this could make her for the rest of her life feel like shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To be pulled off in front of all of these people, to be like, what you're doing in very good. She's not doing it with any malintention. She's giving her it all. And then to have his character be like, this is how we're real winners. You know what I mean? And then everybody get there.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Miss California is one of the judges, and she's loving it the entire
She
time.
loves it.
She loves it.
I love that. Yes, I totally agree. They realize that this could have been a moment that like they took something that could have been negative in her life and made it into something beautiful and positive. So it's
and
amazing.
it kills
Such a
me
great
just
scene.
like to support somebody who is so clearly different than the rest of the group. Especially, I think it's so funny because you also are like, the rest of the group's real fucked up. They are.
Oh, yeah.
They all have their demons.
Yeah,
They've
that
all got
is.
their
Everybody on
issues.
that
Yep.
stage is, what is going on? But to be like, nah, this is our kind of weird. We're here together. Oh, I love it so much.
You just want to
I
have
love
your
it.
weird people together. You just want to be weird with somebody who gets you.
Yes.
Well, you want to feel like people aren't embarrassed of you.
Yes. Oh,
People
absolutely.
to accept you as you are.
Yes.
Mhm.
And not be like, let's take that down. Let's dull that
Mhm.
shine. That's
Yeah.
the worst feeling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they're all dancing, they're all jamming, having a great time. And then I love how the song finishes and they're just left on stage. Like, what now?
And then Biker Dad stands up and goes, woo!
Yes.
Yes. The biker dad and then the DJ. They're
Yes.
the only two that are like cheering them on. Everybody else is like, what the fudge?
I love it.
So good.
So I guess they're detained within the hotel. Not really sure where they are. So I don't know what's going on, but they're detained. A security guard or officer of some sort comes out, says, you're free to go as long as you never enter a beauty pageant in the state of California. They're like, sounds good to
Ever
us.
again.
Ever again. Yeah. So they're on their way out. They're heading back to the car. And they tell Olive that she did great and that Grandpa would have been proud of her.
Yes.
That's so sweet.
It's so sweet.
Yep. So they load up the van again. They all hop in, and they head home.
With the beeping.
Was the beeping horn still?
The horn was still going.
The horn was still going. And then it ends. Beautiful ending.
Yay!
I know.
Such a good movie.
It's such
Oh,
a
it
good
is.
movie.
Yeah.
And one has to believe that it was a turning point that they can maybe then salvage the marriage and figure things out.
Mhm.
And Steve Carell's character will get a fresh start because they overcame together.
Mhm.
Right. I have a tendency to believe that you can only go up from here.
Love
I
it.
hope so. That's how I also believe. I understand they could just go right back and start fighting again, but I believe this was the turning moment.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, yes, passes the Bechdel test. I hope. I think it does.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
Because Cheryl
and Olive.
Olive
Yeah,
talk
absolutely. Yeah.
back and forth several times.
Love it. Love it. So a little fun trivia about the movie. The production crew did make sure that Abigail Breslin really was listening to music in her headphones to keep her from hearing Alan Arkin's profanity-laced scenes.
I wonder what she was listening to.
Right?
2005, what is that? Like, I feel
Michelle
like
Branch,
that's
Vanessa
Christina
Carlton,
Aguilera is pretty hot.
Britney Spears, maybe.
probably.
Yep. Maybe some Spice Girls. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes. Or also maybe she likes talk radio. We don't know.
We don't know her. We don't know her
Yeah,
life.
Very
Yeah.
loud.
So a little fun fact I found a little disturbing. All of the girls acting as participants in the Little Miss Sunshine beauty pageant, except Abigail, of course, were veterans of real beauty pageants. They wore the same
Wow.
costumes, including hair and makeup, and performed the same talent routines as they had in their real life pageants.
They looked too real to not be. They
Yeah.
were so good.
They were very
But the fact that
talented.
they're veterans, which means they were younger when they were actually performing.
I also think the scene that you pointed out with the guy singing and then him going to each girl, and then they're all acting like it's totally normal. And then you have Abigail Breslin's face where she's like, her eyes go wide and she's like, is this normal? You know, with her there, it really highlights how odd it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because she's like our regular.
Oh, man. And so the heroine, Grandpa snorts in the bathroom in the beginning of the movie, is actually crushed up vitamin B tablets.
Very
I wonder if he was
healthy.
buzzing after that.
Oh, man. So this movie did film in California, but it also filmed in Arizona, including Flagstaff, Phoenix, and Chandler.
I'm pretty sure I saw
That is
like
so
the
cool.
10 overpass when
Yeah.
they're driving through.
Yeah,
I was
some
like,
of these
"That looks
places, I'm like, yep,
familiar."
I recognize
I
that.
was like,
yeah.
I've seen that before. I drive past it every time I go to my dad's. Like, so our new caffeine scale is on the scale of 1 to 5 espresso shots. How stimulated did this movie keep you?
I was at a 5. It's relentless. You start the stakes are given right in the beginning. We know all the characters are, and then they have one goal, and it's to get anything that could go wrong goes wrong.
To the extent.
There's no breathing time. We go tender moment, horrible little bit of humor to pull us out. You know what I mean? It's just boom, boom, boom. The writing is so good.
So good. And the direction of it all, it's just all so good. This is such a great movie. And to your point also, like, it is just boom, 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 boom. But everybody's handling it, I want to say, relatively well. And I feel like this could be something that is true to life. Like, so often you watch movies and you're just like, there's no way that that's actually true. This felt true to life. Like,
It really
I can
does.
see this happening. And
Because
so,
they're not at a 5.
Yeah.
They're trying to
No.
hold it together.
Absolutely.
From the get-go, it's so real and raw, and the comedy in it, it's so effortless.
So I will also go a 5. What about you, Celeste?
Oh, a 5, absolutely, all the way.
We're 5s all around.
Yes,
5's all around.
yes. Oh man, and it's shocking that this didn't win any Oscars. I think it may have been nominated for one category. I don't know what it was, but that's about it.
I would put it in my top 10 movies.
It's really good. Yeah. Definitely
Yes.
deserves to be there. I think this was a Sundance film, wasn't it?
It feels like a Sundance film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Feel pretty confident that it was a Sundance film, but I could be completely wrong. Who knows?
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it. We're nominating it for a Sundance film retroactively from 2006. It's fine. Great. So thank you so much, Leah, for joining us again. Once again, you're our first return guest.
I'm honored.
Since we have had time pass, obviously, do you have anything else coming up here shortly that you would like to plug?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I am doing I'm headlining a show in Tracy, California, which is,
I
if
know
you
that
have
place.
It's near San Francisco.
It's about
Um,
an hour or so from San Francisco, and it's more inland near like Dublin.
I'm just going to put my GPS in and go where I'm told.
That is a perfect way to do that. Sorry, my in-laws live near there. So
Oh, do they? Fantastic. I'm
they do.
excited. I love going to new places. So I'm going to drive. So that's on Thursday, December 14th. It is at a place called the Comedy Zone, which is actually in a theater. And all that information is in my link tree. So it's Tracy, California, Thursday, December 14th, 7 p.m. I would love it if anybody wanted to come out. That would be fantastic. And then my other thing is, because it's the holiday season again, I'm taking out the book I wrote during the pandemic, The Holiday Breakdown. It's a rom-com. It's a rom-com movie in a book. Look at you. Oh my God. I cry. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. I have my own copy.
It's literally, you read it, you're like, this is something somebody wrote during a pandemic, but I'm proud of myself for just putting it out there anyway. and being
Love
like,
that.
I'm just doing it. So it's on the internets for purchase.
You can get it on Amazon, I believe, right?
You can
or
get it
is
on
it now on
Amazon?
other places?
No, it's on Amazon. And then I also have a box in my house if anybody is in the area.
Do you ever just give those out to people for Christmas gifts and stuff? You're just like, here you go.
I think I feel weird giving somebody like, here, I wrote this. I had so much fun writing it.
So
Good.
cool.
And one day I'd love for it to be a trilogy and for then be a movie series. It's
I was gonna say,
cheesy
like a series.
romance.
Love it.
I love that. It'll be
Hopefully
like
soon we
the
see it on Netflix.
A
Yeah, I would
Royal
love that.
Christmas.
Putting
All
those
were
vibes
good.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Those three. And then I like to break the tropes in that Hallmarky,
Yes.
like big city girl has to go home, but then she's not gonna leave her job. You know what I mean? They're not.
Yeah.
She's gonna have support of her female friends. You know what I mean? We're gonna. And what's crazy is that I always had this fantasy about living in California. I grew up in northern Maine, and I like saw pictures of people with fruit trees in their yards and outdoor lockers, and I was like, "What is this wildlife?" And then so during New York during the pandemic, it was like in the beginning it was so scary because we're all on top of each other. You couldn't go outside. They had
Oh.
people. It's so many bodies. They were in Central Park. Like we were all terrified, and I have to do something with my brain. And so I'd been writing this horror movie, and I was like, I can't write this right now. You know what I mean? So I was like, I love Christmas. I'm going to do Christmas. I'm just going to focus on this. And my main character lives in Los Angeles. She's a writer, and she has a dog. And then
Aw.
since writing it,
Aw.
I live in Los Angeles, and I have a dog.
You
You brought
manifested
your
it.
story to life. Yes.
So I feel
Oh,
like, boom, very
I'm sure-
exciting.
Richard's 9 steps would be very proud of you. You
Yes.
really spoke up with them real well.
Richard, we did it.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
I
my
guess
goodness.
that brings us to the end. But thank you so much, Leah.
Yeah.
Really
thank you so much
appreciate you.
again.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm delighted that we got to Little Miss Sunshine together. What an
Yes.
emotional.
What an amazing, just awesome movie.
So good.
They really, you just wanted that support. So, I love it
Always.
so much.
I think it shows that even if a family can be dysfunctional, as long as they love and support each other, you can really do good things with one another and really help each other
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're all
Even though there's,
complete shit shows, but they're pulling
Yes.
it together.
I still consider it a wholesome movie, even though they've all got their own shit going on.
It really
Oh,
is
yeah.
wholesome. It's a family
Yeah.
movie. They succeed.
I think that's
Against all
probably what makes it
odds.
even more wholesome.
All the,
Oh.
Yes.
right?
And that girl's going to grow up feeling loved and supported.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that makes me the most happy.
Yes.
Is knowing that she's going to grow up knowing that she's okay being her and she's okay to be as weird as she is and know that she's supported in her dreams and know that she can at least try for anything.
Yep.
Yes, to grow up, like knowing that you can do or try whatever you want, regardless if you fail, that you're still going to be appreciated and have the support from your loved ones. Like, how amazing is that?
How amazing. How amazing. I looked at Lacey and I say, this is what we were going for you. I hope you feel this way.
I love that. I'm sure she does.
Oh.
She seems like a very happy dog.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Caffeinated Flicks. We're a self-published podcast produced and edited by Kenzie.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what films you'd like us to cover, what we can do better, or just say hi.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can follow us on Instagram at caffeinatedflickspod or email us at caffeinatedflicks@gmail.com. We'll catch you on the flick side.
Did I tell you? I don't know if this is appropriate for the podcast, but we were out at the canyon and this lady walked up to Lacey and goes, what's his name? And I don't care if you misgendered the dog. She doesn't care. You know what I mean? Lacey is not invested. And I just said, oh, her name's Lacey Jane. And then she goes, oh, I didn't realize it was a girl dog. She has an outie vagina. And
What?
Lacey's pretty low to the ground. Who are you?
Who says that?
Who are you? Who says that? How also are you noticing my dog's vagina from far away? I don't even know what's going on, but I immediately just step next to Lacey and I go, she has a perfect vagina. And I just felt like that was my little Miss Sunshine. I don't know who you are. I'm not engaging in this. We're not discussing the vagina. I am just letting you know that it is perfect and you can move on. And I look at her, at Lacey, and I go, perfect vagina. And then we just go walking down. I don't even know what that means, but I am not having it. I will get on stage and dance with you. Whatever kind of vagina you have. Sorry, Shana. What a wild person. Can you imagine saying that to a stranger?
No. I can't even imagine saying that to my best friend. Like,
I couldn't say, I wouldn't say it to anybody. I don't even
say it out loud. I couldn't
I wouldn't notice it. I would never notice.
Like, your dog is not that big, though, from like.
No, she's like
from
almost
photos.
on the ground. Are you?
Exactly. She's low to the ground. How do you notice something like that?
I was like,
I think she just wanted to come up with some kind of excuse. Like,
I
it was
think
just
so
the
too.
first
I was
thing that
like,
came to mind.
I don't know what this is, but we are not having it in this circle.
We're
This
not
is the-
engaging. Nope.
I literally just pointed at my dog. I was like, perfect vagina. And then we just kept walking.
I mean, I think as long as everything functions right, it's all perfect. It's fine.
Right?
It's going great. She's
That's incredible.
Man, people are far out.
people are far out.
And not in the groovy sense of far out.
Not in
Right.
like movie comes
Right.
far out.
Not in a good way. I love that. Okay.
Well, thank you again.
Alrighty,
I'm
Leah,
gonna
thank
head
you
out
so
now.
much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh gosh, you're always a hoot.